Hello friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Tracy and I'm the owner and maker behind Made to a T. I'm so happy you stopped by and hope you enjoy this video. Let's go ahead and jump right in. In this video, I will show you how I made this stapler and pen set. The staplers I use are from Amazon. They come in a 3-pack and I will link them below. The top of the stapler pops off of the base. I find it easiest to pull the back off and then unhook the front. There's a small spring in there as well that you will want to be sure to keep track of so you can put it back together when you're done. The staplers come individually bagged, as you can see, so when I disassemble them, I put the pieces back into the bag so I don't lose any of it. Once I have that top piece off, I can use a 3/4 inch PVC pipe to hold it, and it just screws into my tumbler turner. Here are the pens that I use. I use Papermate Inkjoy gel pens that I buy from either Walmart or Amazon. I'll link those below too. I have this little box from Harbor Freight that I keep all the pen pieces in so that I don't lose those and I can reassemble the pens when they're done. Once I'm left with just the main tube of the pen, I twist off the clip and then use my Dremel tool to file down the plastic bump that is left behind when I twist the clip off. I don't worry about getting it completely smooth, especially if it's going to be a glittered pen, but I don't want too much of a bump either. Once I have that fairly smooth, I sand the back because that little silver part is somewhat raised too. These pens are plastic and rubber, so I want to be sure to go over the entire pen, gently scuffing it up so that the epoxy will stick to it. The tube of the pen fits well onto wooden dowels, and then the dowels fit into this attachment that my husband created for my turner. I can turn 8 pens at one time on each attachment. Before I get started on the pen, I will either wash off the dust with Dawn dish soap and water, or I will take a coffee filter and some rubbing alcohol and wipe off the dust. Once I have the stapler and pen prepped, I'm ready to start glittering. I actually lost the footage of showing how I glittered the ones you saw in the beginning of the video, so I've inserted a video of a different set so that you can see how I got them started. For the stapler, I glittered it using the epoxy method. You can actually use Mod Podge for the glitter or even UV resin. I'm just showing you the epoxy method for this video. If you use UV resin, you can complete these items a lot faster since the resin cures in minutes with the UV light, rather than hours with epoxy. I usually prefer epoxy method though, since I can just use leftover epoxy I have after working on tumblers. However, if I'm in a time crunch for an order, I will start the process with UV resin, but put epoxy on for the final coats. I feel like I get a better shine and a smoother finish with epoxy than I do with UV resin. Just like with tumblers, if you spray paint the stapler a similar color to the glitter you will be using, one coat of glitter will give you good coverage. I find it easier to have the stapler off of the turner and the pipe when applying the epoxy. I showed you that little metal clip earlier in this video on the underside of the stapler, and that's what I hold on to as I'm applying the epoxy. When applying the epoxy, you don't want to use too much, just enough to cover the surface. Otherwise, the glitter sinks into the epoxy, and you have to apply so much more glitter to get it to look right. Once I have a thin coat of epoxy on the stapler, making sure to cover the edges, front and back, I put the stapler back on the PVC pipe to make it easier to apply the glitter. In order to get the stapler back onto the pipe, I have to push it on with my finger, and then I have to smooth out the epoxy where I used my finger to push it on. Once I'm ready to apply the glitter, I take the whole thing off the turner with the pipe so I can hold on to it. I pour the glitter all over the stapler, getting good coverage. You can see that I just keep pouring the glitter on until I feel like there isn't any wet epoxy exposed anymore. Then I put it back on the turner to cure. You can use quickset or regular set epoxy to do this process. I just use leftover epoxy from coating tumblers since not much is needed. Now I move on to the pen, doing the same process. Not too much epoxy, but making sure to cover the entire thing, including around the top and bottom edges with the glitter. Once this first layer of epoxy cures, I put at least 2 coats of epoxy over the top to seal in the glitter. After 2 coats of epoxy, I sand the tumbler and pen to smooth out any bumps of glitter that didn't lay flat. However, I have found that I need to be careful sanding the edges of the stapler because the epoxy isn't as thick there. Sometimes I'll put a 3rd coat on the stapler before sanding. Once I have a good surface to apply the decals, I get started on that. This was an order for a customer who sent me their business logo. Since the stapler and especially the pen are so much smaller than a tumbler, the decal was more difficult to weed. So I did sort of a reverse weeding for the decals. Usually when you reverse weed, you put the transfer tape on the decal, then pull the extra vinyl off before applying the decal to the surface of your project. But you'll see here that I put the whole thing on the stapler, removed the transfer tape, and then pulled off the excess vinyl, and what stays behind, or at least that's the hope, is the logo decal. It worked out pretty well on the stapler, however the logo isn't centered, so you'll see in a few minutes that I end up removing it and reapplying it. I thought about cutting this portion of the video out, but decided to keep it in so you can see that it doesn't always work out the first time. I'm definitely not perfect, and I have to remove decals and reapply them sometimes. Now I'm moving on to the pen, and this decal didn't cooperate as well. Part of the logo didn't stick and actually tore, so this is where I took off the decals and started over. I did the process the same way this second time around, trying to get the stapler decal more centered. I'm not sure it was really any better, but I left it. With as small as these decals were, it was hard to weed out the insides of the letters, but it was much easier this way than if I had tried to weed the decals before putting them on the stapler and pen. I just want to say a quick thank you for clicking on this video and watching the tutorial. If you are enjoying this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up. And if you're interested in seeing my future videos, please click on the subscribe button and then the bell icon so you are notified when I upload new videos. Again, I appreciate you being here. Now let's get back to the video. Once the decals were on, I applied 2 more coats of epoxy to the pen and probably 3 more to the stapler, and they were done. Here they are, finished and ready to go to the customer. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. If you create this or something similar, please tag me on social media. I would love to see what you make. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!